This was very difficult because the Kronos family was too big. It was so big that they did not even need to attract any outside talent for their key operations. All personnel involved in their key operations were their own people. Who were their own people? These were people who were selected from a young age by the Kronos family to cultivate. Some of them were even from families who served the Kronos family for generations, and these families by themselves were highly influential families in Europe. The Kronos family now had reached a stage of development where they were like the sovereigns from medieval times. The foundation of a family's influence and power was simply its connections. In Europe, any family with some influence would have some sort of connection to the Kronos family. Some were subordinate families. They were something like stewards to the lords. Some families were connected by profit, which without Kronos' support, would weaken and fall immediately. For an outsider like Luo Fei, it was extremely difficult to integrate into such a massive family. Other members were not that friendly towards Luo Fei despite Lear's orders. Even if they gave Luo Fei a smile, it was usually cold or sarcastic. A superficial smile was already considered a good attitude. Luo Fei, on the other hand, did not mind. He liked being alone and free. At night, Lear joined everyone in their training. In the Kronos family, the position of being the Kronos family's heir would not bring to him any preferential treatment. In fact, it was the opposite. His training was double the amount of others. He had to lead by example. This was the way that he would gain the respect of others. He wanted them to understand that it was not only his identity that made it worth it for them to follow him, but that they could only survive or have a future by following him. And it showed that whoever worked against him would die. Here, Lear did not need to hide anything. Whatever he did was enough to scare anyone to death. Other than being speechless, Luo Fei hoped that his days would be more relaxed. Competing was too tiring. It was 2230 in the local time, and all training had ended. Everyone entered a villa. The villa was filled with everything that could fulfill any human desires. Beauties, handsome men, delicacies, the internet. There was everything. It was just like, no, this was heaven. Everyone enjoyed these immensely. However, it was evident that everyone's eyes were strong and unwavering. They enjoyed themselves but did not lose themselves in their enjoyment. When they enjoyed, they could be like the noble families, reading poems and having fun. When they were serious, they could spend 3 days 3 nights buried in mud, without any sleep. Luo Fei's saliva was about to drip out of his mouth. Good food and beauties, especially those mature beauties. Lear blocked Luo Fei's view. You like it? Yes, very much. I'm giving you 1 week to reach the first level. Lear threw a book at Luo Fei. At this moment, everyone surrounding them looked over immediately. Obviously, this book was nothing ordinary. Swallowing, Luo Fei looked at the cover and saw only an ancient, small word, saint. To Fatty, the two things most painful in life were training and reading. He was not born to study. Once he looked at words, he would feel faint. He heard that this was the word fainting syndrome. However, he understood the meaning behind this thing. It was the legendary form of power, Gongfa. However, not everyone could master Gongfa. Some would study it for a lifetime and still failed to produce even a fart. Hence, Gongfa became less and less known. Some even suspected that it was something fabricated from novels. Since it came from Lear, it must have been real. Gongfa and Ability X were the same. They both existed. However, to ask him to reach the first level of something he had never even heard of before in just 1 week was, no matter how optimistic, something that could not be achieved even if he gave up his life. Boss, what if? I can't do it. Luo Fei summoned the courage to ask. He really did not want to bargain with Boss. But Fatty always knew his own limits. Then, as expected, Lear gave him a faint smile. He patted Fatty on the shoulder. You know what will happen. Fatty shivered. He preferred it when Lear was fiercer. If he was fierce, it would mean that he was satisfied. When he smiled like this, it would mean that he was unsatisfied with his response. Fatty hid in a corner to study the book. After half a day, he was on the verge of tears. He recognized all the words, but when they were arranged in sentences, he had no idea what they meant. It was like reading a holy scripture. Oh, God, please save me. In the room. Lear walked out of the gravitational room covered with sweat. He stepped into a gigantic strengthening canister filled with a pale green liquid that was carefully prepared. While it looked ordinary, it was the essence of mankind's technology. Whatever strengthening method that required invasive technology that involved genealogy directly was foolish, especially if it was for a fully grown human body. Strengthening needed to be achieved in steps. What was prepared for Lear was definitely the best. In today's world, if he wanted to be a conqueror, the first condition he had to fulfill was having a body that was strong enough, that lived long enough. Young master, to give him the Gonfa now, isn't it too early? Droop asked respectfully. When Lear inherited the Gonfa, it meant that he would not only be the heir in name, but that he held the real power to make decisions. This Gonfa was never passed to someone outside the family before. If this was in the past, such an act was definitely impossible. Lear glanced at him. To achieve the impossible, you need to learn how to give up some things. Understood, young master. The old butler had yet to complete his sentence when his skylink lit up. It was an emergency. After looking down for a second, the old butler frowned. He quickly reported, Chef Man and Cleveland are applying for access to the third phase of the Gonfa again. They last applied 1 week ago. According to the rules, they should be applying only 1 month after the previous failed application. What are your orders, young master? Lear looked at Droop. Are they thinking that it's not worth letting Luo Fei get the entire Gonfa in one go? Droop's eyes lit up. Young master, you mean to? When one became part of the Chronos family, one's life would never belong to oneself again. It would belong to the master of the Chronos family. What can they do about it? So what if I give them the full set of the Gonfa? Lear smiled. Those Gonfas for subordinates were not only the simplified version, but also only part of the full set of the Gonfa. Droop nodded. Yes, young master. At that moment, Droop understood what Lear wanted to do. Judging from Lear's style, it was either that he chose to turn a blind eye and not act, or if he chose to act, Otto's would have died then, back during the first IG training. This fatty had yet to kill anyone. 3 days later. Follow me. An old man who looked like a ghost said as he appeared in front of Luo Fei. Fatty disliked this creepy old man. However, everyone on the island knew that this old man was the general manager. He had a lot of authority. Fatty would even call him the head of eunuchs behind his back. Droop brought him straight to a huge door. On this door were 2 door panels, the left painted black and the right painted white. Go in. Haha, Mr. General Manager, what is inside? Actually, I don't have many requests. No, I don't have any requests. Do you think I can? Looking at the door, he could smell blood. Fatty really did not want to enter, but at the next moment, he was already lifted up and thrown into the door like a ball. What are you doing? Ah, it's very painful. Stop hitting me. If you want anything, we can talk it out. Whatever that you want, I can give it to you. Please don't do this. There were multiple screams. Outside the door, Droop stood quietly. The wrinkles on his face were like carvings on a marble statue. They did not move even a bit. After a while, the screams stopped. It became very quiet inside. When the door opened and light shined in, Fatty was kneeling on the floor covered in blood. He could not stop shivering. Lear walked in slowly and stood in front of Luo Fei. Luo Fei raised his head. I did not mean to kill anyone. I did not mean to kill anyone. Lear, who had mysophobia, was not at all disgusted by Fatty, who was covered in blood. He carried Luo Fei up. His eyes were shining with an unnatural brightness. From today onwards, you'll be my right-hand man. Those who follow me will prosper, and those who don't will die. On the floor were 2 people who had been torn into pieces. The method was incredibly cruel. This was not something anyone normal could do. There was a type of person who used a weak appearance to trap the demons housed within them. A demon king was required to wake these demons up. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Xiao Yu. Behind me is the 136th Milky Way Alliance University Science Contribution Award Ceremony site. This ceremony is the first in the last 10 years to have this many VIPs attending. The outfield MC, Xiao Yu, said excitedly. It was the norm for past award ceremonies to be attended by 1 or 2 scientific authorities. Usually, those attending had students who won the highest contribution award. However, Xiao Yu was not to blame for being excited this time. Xiao Fei was no doubt a VIP, and she attracted the attention of various media outlets. The titan of the physics world, Dong Shuiwu, was here as well. It was rumored that there was some conflict between Dong Shuiwu and Xiao Fei. However, looking at the scene, Dong Shuiwu came despite knowing that it was Xiao Fei's student who had won the highest award. This was a show of respect. Looks like the rumors were not true. Other than that, more than 10 authorities of various fields were present. This was indeed rare. My God, I actually see Professor Sia. She's not only the authority in bioengineering, she rarely attends such events. She's actually here. I cannot miss this interview chance. Xiao Yu immediately ran up to the professor. Professor Sia, good evening, I'm a reporter from the Milky Way magazine. During my university days as a bioengineering major, I was also your idol. Oh, no, I'm your fan. Sia smiled and pushed her glasses. So you switched careers to become a reporter? Xiao Yu's face turned red. She quickly bowed. My mathematics was not good enough. Actually, I really love this profession. Haha, young lady, I was just joking. No matter what work you do, as long as you like it, it's the best. Xiao Yu laughed happily. Professor, I didn't think that you would be here. I thought that you would. Well, did you think that I would always be cooped up in the laboratory? Haha. Actually, if there is any award ceremony with some real meaning, it's worth attending. Professor Sia laughed. Xiao Yu was surprised. Professor Sia, as well as numerous authorities from the science world, had been critical of such award ceremonies as they were not productive. Perhaps this time's award ceremony had some meaning to it? Or, it was rumored that there was a huge debate regarding the winner for this time's highest award. The keen sense of a reporter allowed her to detect the subtle difference in atmosphere. It was rumored that the Princess of Aslan would be arriving. This may be a proud accomplishment for the event organizers, but to the science world, this may not be the case. The award ceremony was becoming more and more like an entertainment show. Perhaps the reason why everyone was gathering was that. Just as she was thinking, sounds of discussion came from the entrance. Everyone turned back and was shocked. Mu Fengchen and Gale arrived. As the most influential scientist of today's era, Mu Fengchen's arrival attracted all the attention in media. Dong Shuiwu was still speaking when, in a flash, everyone disappeared. A group of people blocked the passageway. Who was Senior Mu? There were too many legends about him. He had opened a small scientist club at Roland Garros where only the top scientists of the Milky Way Alliance could join. At Roland Garros, he had an authority no lesser than that of the Milky Way Alliance chairman. Also, it was rumored that he was the winner of this time's Mathematics Nobel Prize. This was already his third consecutive win. There was none like him, and this was not because of his fame, but because of the honor that he gained from solving difficult problems relentlessly. Facing the media, Senior Mu smiled. Everyone, the main characters for today are the youths that will lead mankind's future. It's no use taking pretty pictures of my old face. The reporters laughed. Senior Mu was known as a man of his word in their profession as well. They quickly made way. More and more media arrived at the ceremony site. The ordinary Milky Way Alliance Contribution Award ceremony became grander with the appearance of the most famous titan in the science world today, and the princess from Aslan. It made the upcoming Nobel Prize Award ceremony 3 months from now seem inconsequential. When it was almost time for the ceremony to start, there were no empty seats. After all, this was not an entertainment establishment. Hence, once the ceremony was about to start, the media would restrain themselves. This was one of the most sacred establishments of mankind. Mankind was able to conquer the Milky Way, the key to conquering the galaxy, by relying on the contribution of scientists. This was mankind's power. It was no exaggeration to say that this was the most valuable resource of mankind. Those around Wang Zheng were youths of around the same age. Some were excited, some were nervous, and there were some who stood proud. Regardless, those seated here represented ability. Unconsciously, Wang Zheng felt as though his soul was leaving his body again. He was a little surprised. This was not a battle situation, so why would there be such a sentiment? Science was just another type of battlefield, another type of lifestyle. It could not be described by words, but it was obviously much more complicated than the usual battles. Wang Zheng was a sensitive person in nature. The youths around him were all in a hyper-excited mood and proud looks were being exchanged. Wang Zheng, who was sensitive to the mood, could naturally blend in. To be frank, he himself was not very excited. Science was not his aspiration. At the same time, he felt that this was all old merchant's work. He was at the most a messenger. However, the strong resolve of the youths surrounding him had a unique effect on him. It seemed to amplify what he was experiencing. At this moment, Wang Zheng could feel the power of Roland Garros. This planet seemed like it did not have much power on the outside. Perhaps it possessed the most powerful fighting power, or hid even countless secrets. Yet, despite all this, all Wang Zheng felt was emptiness. When human technology reached a certain stage, the power of nature was suppressed. At this point, Wang Zheng seemed to understand something. Wasn't ability X the power that was birthed from the fusion of human beings themselves and nature? The sounds around him were blocked out. Wang Zheng was in an ethereal state again. Enlightenment, at the simplest level of understanding, was an achievement of the peak superposition of brainwaves. One by one, the awards were given out in the hall. The atmosphere of the award ceremony was extremely high because of the appearance of so many big shots. At this moment, Xie Yachting just started walking down the stage, her whole body trembling. She tried her best to calm down, but the person who was presenting her award was Professor Zhuang Wuyan. This was something that she did not even dream of. Her mind was blank. She could not even remember what she had just said. When she returned to her seat, she was already soaked in sweat and her legs were soft and wobbly. Subconsciously, she raised her head and looked at Wang Zheng, who was sitting diagonally across. Was this person spacing out? Actually, the main characters this time were no longer the young students. Princess Aina and those big shots were the hot topics of discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the most important award tonight. I believe that everyone has been waiting for it. Now, let's invite our most special guest, the first princess of Aslan, Princess Aina. Immediately, the heartiest round of applause erupted from the audience. No matter how she looked from the outside, Aina Aslan was the symbol of flawlessness. She could become the hottest topic of discussion just by appearing in public. Princess Aina took on a friendly, peace-loving image. She advocated for peaceful expansion and supported charities. At the same time, she visited Earth and promoted her political ideals. It would be difficult for people to ignore such a cute little princess. Aina walked out. She was dressed simply, in formal clothes. She was not wearing any accessories. In front of science, any decorations were vulgar. Not surprising, once Aina appeared, she attracted everyone's attention. She was that beautiful and elegant. All of them thought that Princess Aina would appear grandly dressed, but she was dressed simply. Such a contrast made her even more attractive. She was elegant but not proud. Wang Zheng's attention then shifted toward Aina. The strange thing was that although he did not leave that peculiar state of mind, his soul rushed towards Aina. Aina walked onto the stage. She blushed suddenly, because at that moment, she felt herself being surrounded by a loving feeling. This feeling was so familiar, so strong, and so warm. Such a feeling could only come from one particular person. This sudden feeling disappeared quickly. Aina suppressed her excitement. The highest contribution award for the 136th University Science Contribution Award goes to Wang Zheng from Earth's Ares College. Immediately, the audience erupted into loud applause and cheers. Everyone stood up. At this moment, Wang Zheng woke up from his peculiar state. Wang Zheng, congratulations. Thanks. It was a simple exchange, but the moment they shook hands, they shared a feeling of warmth and happiness that could only be understood between them. Everything was unspoken. Xiao Fei and Marcus's applause were the loudest. Wang Zheng deserved this award. He lived up to its name. The MC smiled and asked, Wang Zheng, how are you feeling right now? Is there anything you want to say? Wang Zheng smiled. He did not expect to be asked to say something. He looked at his trophy. Is this pure gold? The air stilled for a moment. Shortly after, everyone burst into happy laughter. Road, the MC, laughed too. Wang Zheng, you are so humorous. It's only gold-plated, but the most important part is in its meaning. Is there anything else that you would like to say? Wang Zheng smiled and said, I have nothing else to say. Rode was stunned at first, then he smiled. Let us use our warmest applause to congratulate Wang Jung again. This country bumpkin, Niçoise could not resist commenting. No one noticed that Aina, who was always smiling, was looking at Wang Jung tenderly. It was unexpected that the winner of the highest award had nothing to say. This also meant that the award ceremony had come to an end. However, the MC received a notification on his call card. Rode was stunned for a second before letting out a big smile. Ladies and gentlemen, students, I have just received some news. And just right now, I would like to borrow this occasion to announce, from the Milky Way Science Committee, that Professor Dong Shuiwu has made an amazing contribution to the space-moving idea. He has perfected the explanation for the transference upon curvature convection theory. This is the greatest accomplishment in the last 10 years. Professor Dong Shuiwu is here with us today. Let us welcome Professor Dong to come up on stage and give some advice to the youngsters present here. The audience applauded enthusiastically, while Xiao Fei and her group looked at each other. How did this happen? She had only revealed a little at the gathering that day. She was prepared to submit the suggestion after the award ceremony. How did it become Dong Shuiwu? Mu Fengchen and Gale looked at each other. They saw anger in each other's eyes. Idiot Dong is getting out of hand. How could he do such an embarrassing thing? Let me teach him a lesson. Gale was a famous hothead. He was pulled back by Mu Fengchen, who was beside him. Basically, Mu Fengchen had already understood the process. No wonder Dong Shuiwu had left the gathering so quickly. He thought that Dong was embarrassed, but little did he know, Dong was going back to expand on Xiao Fei's suggestion. Well, this was actually the same as the logic in the story of the standing egg. When you had not thought of it, however hard you thought, you would not get the answer. Once you understood, based on Dong Shuiwu's ability, he could solve it within this short period of time. Ignoring his character, he did have a high level of ability. This guy had definitely worked overtime to submit the work specifically at this time. This was not considered plagiarism. The reasoning would have to be done by himself. Xiao Fei's face was a little pale. She wanted to help Wang Jung at that time. She did not expect that Dong Shuiwu would do such a thing, to take things to this extent. On the stage, Dong Shuiwu was immediately the center of attention. Dong Shuiwu and Xiao Fei had their differences for quite some time. His position was threatened, especially when Xiao Fei had a breakthrough for spatial transmission. He had been looking for trouble with Xiao Fei ever since. This time, Dong Shuiwu had finally made the strongest comeback. At the same time, it was evidence of his ability. On the stage, Dong Shuiwu spoke eloquently, giving a long speech on how he had come up with the idea, how difficult it was, and how to be creative. Wang Jung really did not want to do anything at such an event. However, it was intolerable. He knew very well how hard Xiao Fei and Marcus's team had been working for this period of time. However, it was all destroyed in this moment. Xiao Fei bit her lip. This was not about profit, but about the hard work of the whole team going to waste. She did not believe that just in 2 days, Dong Shuiwu could produce any good quality reasoning. However, he was the first to propose such reasoning. Anyone's work submitted later, however good it was, would only be considered as working from Dong's idea. Not only that, this was also a problem of patents. The whole project could be affected. On the stage, Dong Shuiwu was in high spirits. His voice became louder and louder. His mood became even better, especially after he observed the expressions of the audience. The applause did not stop. Xiao Fei and Marcus's group was angry, but now they looked even angrier. Mu Fengchen and Gale were experienced scientists. They knew that the problem did not lie in the lack of witnesses. They were present too, but that was useless. The reasoning was definitely done by Dong Shuiwu himself. Besides, you may claim that you have thought of the idea first, but he could say that he had been researching it since long ago. It was just that he did not make any official announcement. Everyone had the right to announce their research first. Of course, those who were aware of the circumstances all knew that this time around, Dong Shuiwu, this old man, was being too shameless. Xiao Fei, calm down, we do not have any evidence. If we quarreled with him, we would be giving him an advantage over us. Marcus was, after all, older. He might have been angry, but he was still rational. The excitement of the audience and the weird expressions of the group of scientists formed a great contrast. To Dong Shuiwu, he did not care at all. This was a chance that he had grabbed. Xiao Fei, I heard that you were working hard in this direction too. You are welcome to visit me at my school when you are free for any further discussions. I am always willing to help younger scientists. Dong Shuiwu said while looking at Xiao Fei. He was showing his generosity and good attitude as a senior. He did it on purpose to provoke Xiao Fei. If you could not stand the provocation and exploded, you would be losing face in front of the whole world. Provoking your opponent was no doubt the oldest and most effective way to deliver a blow to your opponent. What Dong Shuiwu wanted to do was to give Xiao Fei this one fatal blow. Xiao Fei clenched her fist and her facial expression changed. She was not one who was good at hiding her feelings. Also, she was still young and hot-headed. She was not willing to go down quietly and let Dong Shuiwu benefit from her work. The facial expressions of Mu Fengchen and the others also changed. Dong Shuiwu was too much. Not only had he snatched other people's ideas, but he also wanted to challenge them face to face. Gale wanted to stand up, but Mu Fengchen pulled him down again. Old Mu, why are you pulling me? Let me whack this asshole. You guys want face? I don't want mine. Look. Mu Fengchen pointed at Wang Zheng. At this moment, Wang Zheng was walking towards the stage. All the attention was immediately focused on the winner of tonight's highest award. Looks like he was going to get justice for his teacher. The eyes of all the reporters at the event started to shine. This would be news. The problem was what was he, who did not seem to speak too eloquently, going to do? Fight. Dong Shuiwu looked at Wang Zheng and smiled. Young chap, do you have any thoughts? It's a pity you are Xiao Fei's student. A gentleman never snatches someone else's love. If you want me to be your teacher, you will have to get Xiao Fei's agreement first. This offer not only carried a lot of underlying meanings, but was also a sarcastic comment on the relationship between Wang Zheng and Xiao Fei. If it was an average young person who heard this comment, they might have already burst in anger. However, Wang Zheng simply smiled innocently. Professor Dong, you're making a very serious mistake. I can't help but want to correct this mistake. Dong Shuiwu smiled slightly. Oh, please go ahead. The audience immediately started discussing. Xiao Fei's student was going to challenge Dong Shuiwu. Wang Zheng turned to face the audience. He walked to the front of the stage, and in just that moment, the Wang Zheng now seemed like a different person. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, actually, this theory presented by Professor Dong was raised by teacher Xiao Fei and teacher Marcus a long time ago. Wang Zheng had yet to finish when Dong Shuiwu, who was standing beside him, interrupted him. Haha, are you trying to say that I learned my theory from Xiao Fei? Haha, when I started researching physics, Xiao Fei was just a small child. Dong Shuiwu knew that Wang Zheng would say that. Even if there were witnesses that day, so what? Xiao Fei only mentioned that little bit of information. Besides, he was the authority in physics, so in this situation where the involved party, Xiao Fei, could not represent herself, no one else could help her. Disputes were popular in academia. Xiao Fei and Dong Shuiwu had been fighting for a long time in spatial physics. Recently, Xiao Fei had a breakthrough, and now, Dong Shuiwu was retaliating. Actually, Dong Shuiwu had expressed his doubts over Xiao Fei's breakthrough in scientific journals. It was just that Xiao Fei was able to provide evidence later, so he had no choice but to shut up. Perhaps it was an attempt by Xiao Fei to return the favor and damage Dong Shuiwu's reputation? This student did not have enough authority to do so. Wang Zheng shook his head and looked at Dong Shuiwu very sincerely. Professor Dong, I remember that teacher Xiao Fei raised the question of transference upon curvature convection for everyone to discuss at the gathering yesterday. At that time, teacher Mu and teacher Gale, all of them were there, and we have already refuted the question. Why are you taking it out again? Dong Shuiwu's facial expression changed slightly. This rascal knew how to look for support. However, it was too much. What refute? Who dared to refute? Mu Fengchen and his friends did not have such ability. They were not experts in physics. Rascal, who instructed you to say such things? Is it Xiao Fei? How dare you? Dong Shuiwu said angrily. Theories are debatable. That is the norm. However, it is unethical to use underhanded methods. Little Dong, be patient and let Wang Zheng finish. We did raise this issue before. Mu Fengchen said suddenly, continuing the conversation. He had doubts in his heart, but his instincts told him that this kid, Wang Zheng, was not one who would speak without thinking. I agree. You have lived for so long, why are you still afraid of a student's idea? No wonder you ran so quickly that night. Gale laughed. Immediately, the sounds of discussion became louder. Everyone had guessed a little about what was going on. Most likely, Dong Shuiwu claimed what was discussed at the gathering and announced the results as his own research. The truth was not important, the reporters needed a topic. Haha, this rascal is saying that I'm building on the wisdom of others. Now I want to see what his version of the truth is, Dong Shuiwu said angrily. Wang Zheng laughed. Actually, transference upon curvature convection is nothing significant. Just like the story of the standing egg, it is simply a brain teaser. If we invest too much energy in this direction, it will only be wasted. Under teacher Xiao Fei's leadership, we have progressed to stage 2 for the study on transference upon curvature convection. Teacher Xiao Fei, even though you were planning to announce only after we perfected the study, with so many authorities from different fields present here today, why don't we present it for everyone to discuss? This will benefit our progress in the later stages of the study. Xiao Fei and Marcus looked at each other. There was no later stage in the study. Wang Zheng knew of the progress of the entire project. Xiao Fei did not know why, but she became more confident when she looked at Wang Zheng's smile. Yes, you can represent me and share our thoughts with everyone. Science belongs to the whole of humanity. It is not a tool for people to compete for prestige and profits. Xiao Fei was not one to be bullied easily. Immediately, she threw the insult back at Dong Shuiwu. The key point was that she did not think that in such a fight, Senior Mu and Gale would be on their side. In the first stage, we solved the problem of location in spatial movement under curvature constant velocity. This basic deduction itself was based on the transmission between constant velocity and hypervelocity ships. Hence, in the second stage, we naturally advanced in that direction for our study. Everyone knows that once we have entered the state of hypervelocity, space then will differ from our conventional understanding of space. Our transmission will then lead to the problem of material conversion. In other words, if we wanted to build a hypervelocity transmission suite, at the point of transmission, we would have to increase the speed of the suite space to hypervelocity. Vice versa, transmission under curvature constant velocity runs on the same reasoning. We would have to decrease the speed of the transmission space. Regarding our deductions, the base of our theory uses the mu 5 dimensions reaction mechanism, as well as the Chemule material conversion law simultaneously. As he said this, Wang Zheng's skylink lit up and a holographic screen popped out. Wang Zheng started to deduce. The audience was quiet. Those who did not understand, those who understood, and those who understood a little, all of them were staring silently at the confident young man on the stage. There was such a youngster in this world. He dared to discuss freely, in front of authorities from various fields, the most difficult question in the physics world today. At the start, there were people who could understand, but as the formulae and laws started to complicate, you could count on one hand the number of those present who could still understand. Within the deduction, there was a number of complicated mathematical laws. Actually, in the science world, the process of deduction was most important to provide a perfect reasoning for the mu reaction theory. It was only in understanding the process that the theory could be translated to reality and put to practical use. Mu Fengchen and the others had already walked up the stage. None of them spoke a word. At first, Dong Shuiwu was full of disdain. However, as he watched, his face darkened. As for the students below the stage, they already could not understand. Xiao Fei and Marcus were totally engrossed in the deductions. It was obvious that they were not involved in the deductions at all. Wang Zheng, this rascal, usually just listened at the laboratory. Who would have thought that he was not idling and had already achieved such a great breakthrough? The second stage was still a little difficult for Wang Zheng. He had spent quite a long time to convert it to part of his ideas. Actually, he had not solved the last part yet, so he could only deduce half of it. It was as though time did not exist. As Wang Zheng was working out his reasoning, 2 hours passed, and he had already used 5 large screens. When Wang Zheng completed his work, he heaved a big sigh of relief. He had finally completed another mission. No matter what, He could not allow idiot Dong to bully teacher Xiao Fei. Wang Zheng had finished writing. However, the professors present were still standing still. Those who had reached a certain stage in academia would have a strong foundation in mathematics. They could understand about 70 to 80% of it. Wang Zheng had used more than 10 of today's top theories. Within included techniques from engineering because the increase in speed for the transmission suite would lead to a material conversation. After a long time, Mu Fengchen let out a breath. Xiao Fei, you guys are too outstanding. This will be the biggest scientific breakthrough of the century. This year's highest Nobel Prize should be awarded to you guys. Xiao Fei was the fastest to gain an understanding of the whole reasoning, because she had been following the study from the start. Also, she was able to follow Wang Zheng's train of thought. Actually, this rascal had hinted during their research before, but obviously, he lacked the final step. But now the whole process was almost completed, and it would be easy to simply work out the last bit. Wang Zheng scratched his head. Teacher, I'm sorry, I've yet to understand the last part. Xiao Fei smiled. We'll be making an official announcement for the last part before the end of the next month. This time, the issue at hand is too broad. It stretches across many fields of studies. Here, I sincerely invite everyone to the announcement. Teacher Mu, you promised to come. Mu Fengchen laughed heartily and patted Wang Zheng. I'm coming just because of this kid. I forgot to tell everyone. This newest and perfect reasoning for the 5-dimension reaction theory was not done by me, but by this kid. Little Dong, next time don't be so anxious and leave halfway. You should stay and listen to the end of the discussion before making a decision to prevent such a situation from happening again. Mu Fengchen's words were much more trustworthy. Those at the ceremony could understand the gist of what had happened. Dong Shuiwu had taken what Xiao Fei and her group were discussing to be a precious breakthrough and had fought to announce it as his own work. In reality, they were discussing the problems in their theory. Xiao Fei was being kind and did not expose him on the spot. If not for Dong Shuiwu's continuous provocation, perhaps they were even considering leaving him with that bit of face. Dong Shuiwu was the cause of his own embarrassment. After he set things right, Wang Zheng quickly made space for Xiao Fei and Mu Fengchen. In such a situation, there would not be many questions about the reasoning. Actually, Xiao Fei and Senior Mu were honest people. They talked mainly about the general direction of their collaboration. Old Mu, Gale, and their friends would not be interested in the usual normal project. Wang Zheng could not stand answering such meaningless questions, so he rejected all interviews and hid away. Luckily, Xiao Fei and her group were present, and everyone had a direction. This huge contribution would directly affect the later Milky Way Alliance Nobel Prize. If the whole reasoning was accepted, Xiao Fei would be winning the highest award. Comparing Dong Shuiwu and Mu Fengchen in such a similar situation, Mu Fengchen's generosity and character outshone Dong Shuiwu. People would not take Mu Fengchen lightly based on the fact that he did not receive the highest award. On the contrary, he would be more respected. This was the model attitude for the science world. People would get old, and the new generation would have to inherit their positions. Xiao Fei, you have a good student, old Mu smiled. Xiao Fei gave a knowing smile. She knew that she could not hide it from Senior Mu. This is the fortune of humanity. Mu Fengchen nodded. He was puzzled when Xiao Fei credited her student for the work, but now he knew that this showed Xiao Fei's selflessness. I might have to delay you for a bit later on. We should discuss our collaboration. The reasoning is still incomplete. However, it's almost done. We just need to work a little harder for the last part. It's just that the research crosses over into too many fields of study. Then we will have to depend on your charisma. Haha, you are now a member of Coffee, so you do not need me. You can approach the people that you need directly. Of course, Wang Zheng, that rascal, is a great kid. He's just a little lazy. If you don't motivate him, he will not be willing to give it his all. I heard that he wants to become a soldier. How can he do that? Mu Fengchen said. Poor Wang Zheng. He did not know that his display of talent would bring more opposition to his ideal occupation, and this was not a small opposing force. Yes, he passed the IG selection. I'm also having a headache over this, Xiao Fei said. How about this? I will prepare and visit Aries College to enhance the atmosphere, Mu Fengchen said. Xiao Fei was surprised at hearing his suggestion. That would be great. Xiao Fei also thought that the reason Wang Zheng wanted to be a mech warrior was because of the military school atmosphere of Ares College. If they could improve the sentiment towards the sciences, perhaps it would change his mind. The atmosphere and environment were quite important. You could imagine how important Wang Zheng was to Mu Fengchen and Gale. Wang Zheng was hiding from all the attention when the door opened quietly. An attractive figure entered carefully. Before she could turn her head, she was enveloped into a hug. Aina had a shock. Before she knew, a kiss landed on her mouth. She relaxed upon recognizing that familiar scent. The award ceremony had ended. This also meant that Wang Zheng had to go back. To Aina, Wang Zheng's embrace was no doubt the safest and warmest. Aina was watching from the side while he showed off his ability again. Though unintentionally, she knew that Wang Zheng would never allow Dong Shuiwu to humiliate Xiao Fei and Marcus, but she could not think of any way to stop it. However, Wang Zheng had easily beaten Dong Shuiwu. Aslan revered the courageous, except that they were different from the Arbiter Empire, who revered power only. Aslan looked up to the courageous and chivalrous. In Aina's heart, Wang Zheng was such a warrior, regardless of his field of study. Don't idolize me too much, or you will be sad when I'm not around, Wang Zheng teased. Aina's gentle gaze was melting him. I want to idolize you, should I not? Is Wang Zheng not willing to take in a little fan like me? Aina said cheekily. I really want to carry you away in my pocket, Wang Zheng said from his heart. To other people, her status as a princess may be an honor, but to him, at times, he really wished Aina was simply Aina. Aina's twinkly eyes seemed to see through Wang Zheng's thoughts. In front of you, I'm always Aina. I believe in you. Anyway, distance makes the heart fonder. This way, you will think of me every day. Wang Zheng could not hold back his smile. You are even prettier without the distance. After staying with Tyrant Su and in May for a while, Wang Zheng learned how to flirt a little. Aina was stunned for a second before seeing Wang Zheng's grin. Then she understood immediately and gave him a light punch. HMPH, anyway, you can only think of me. Don't get tempted by all those pretty girls surrounding you. Looking at Aina, Wang Zheng's smile widened. Sigh, you were the only one who noticed me early. I'm so awesome. I entered this relationship too early. Their eyes met again as they continued their conversation. It was as though they had eyes only for each other. After that affectionate moment, Aina leaned on Wang Zheng's chest. When are we going to meet again? It won't be long. I heard that the competition for the Milky Way IG will be held at Aslan. I will be attending as Earth's representative, Wang Zheng said. To be honest, Wang Zheng was a little tempted by Gale's words. The problem was that way, Wang Zheng would no longer be Wang Zheng anymore. If he lost himself, what would be left? I'll wait for you. Xiao Fei and her group expended quite some effort with the media before they could leave. The award ceremony had a dramatic and perfect ending. When she wanted to look for the most valuable contributor for today, she could not find Wang Zheng. Marcus's smile was so wide that many of his wrinkles had disappeared. Actually, Marcus was not really famous. At the most, people would have heard of him, but that was the extent. However, through this project, especially after this time, he finally got the chance to stand proud. However, Wang Zheng had disappeared. It was really dangerous today. They had almost lost everything and wasted all their efforts. Now it was all good, they had everything back again. Xiao Fei and Marcus had no intention of giving up this constant velocity project. This was the project that could be materialized the fastest. With this episode, Dong Shuiwu would not dare to continue applying for a patent. Xiao Fei and Marcus had done a lot of research and they did a lot of solid preparation work. Besides, they also intended to submit immediately to the Milky Way Academy. They would not make the same mistake again. When Xiao Fei, Marcus, and their group returned to the base, a hearty round of applause welcomed them. Everyone had watched the entire process on television. It felt so good, it was amazing. At the same time, they finally got the returns on their hard work. Where's Wang Zheng, that rascal? Xiao Fei had too much that she wanted to ask Wang Zheng. Now that she was back, she was determined to interrogate him. Ahem, boss forgot to buy a souvenir for 007. I think he went to buy it. It's okay, you won't lose him, Yan Xiaoshu said. And Mei snorted. He's on a secret date, isn't he? Xiao Fei did not ask any further. She, Marcus, and their group wanted to grab this chance and submit the 2 projects before leaving. When Wang Jung comes back, ask him to look for me. We're not sleeping tonight, Xiao Fei said. Everyone was in high spirits, so they could not sleep even if they wanted to. Wang Jung had already sent the information on his holographic screen to Xiao Fei's Skylink. With Xiao Fei's ability, she could finish the work much faster than him. In today's physics world, it was difficult to say who was number 1, but Xiao Fei was definitely one of the top. Dong Shuiwu was actually quite brilliant. He could work out the reasoning overnight just by hearing that one piece of information by Xiao Fei. It was a pity that he used his brilliance on the wrong thing, and that he was up against such a genius, Wang Jung. It was all his own doing. Wang Jung originally intended to announce only after he had completed all reasoning for the second phase. In the end, Dong was the one who pushed forth the release of the reasoning, and in doing so, had unintentionally boosted Xiao Fei's position. Yan Xiaoshu, on the other hand, was pulled by An Mei to one side. Tell me. Ah. What do you want me to say? Yan Xiaoshu was stunned. Where did Wang Jung go? Don't tell me you don't know, An Mei said. Haha, my beloved Mei Mei. Why are you asking about the boss's location? This is so inappropriate. I will be sad. Yan Xiaoshu gave a pitiful look. Yan Xiaoshu, you have the nerve to dupe me. You know what I'm asking about. Is Xiaoxi here? It is quite convenient to come here from Aslan. Yan Xiaoshu was stunned. He was impressed by his girlfriend. She could guess the truth just based on some signs. Ahem, Xiao Mei. Why would you think that? Yan Xiaoshu still wanted to protect Wang Jung. After all, they were brothers. He could not surrender immediately. Looking at how down Zissou is, plus Wang Jung is always disappearing without reason, what else could it be? Why? Is that Xiaoxi so secretive? An Mei said. She was feeling unfair for Yi Zissou. This guy, Wang Jung, was too heartless. Yan Xiaoshu looked around and said helplessly. Xiao Mei, I know that you are good friends with Zissou. To be honest, I feel the same way. But this is, after all, boss's private matters. We cannot interfere too much. If you think about it from another perspective, if boss interfered in our relationship, how would you feel? Of course, I know you only mean well. Yan Xiaoshu liked An Mei a lot. Not only was An Mei pretty, but she also liked him. At the same time, it was also because An Mei was smart, yet she knew how to be considerate for those around her. When they were together, others always thought that An Mei was with him for his money. Yan Xiaoshu also thought so at first. It was later that he found out that even though An Mei's family may not be very rich, they also did not lack anything. When they were together, An Mei picked up the tab many times too. Besides, it was the first relationship for the both of them. Deep in his heart, Yan Xiaoshu respected An Mei a lot. Seeing Yan Xiaoshu explaining so seriously, An Mei could not stay angry. She knew that she had gone a little over the line. Sigh, forget it. I'm not going to interfere in this. Anyway, I'm not siding with her. If she comes, don't you expect me to be friendly? An Mei still had her own principles. She was too biased towards her own people. Ahem, don't worry, she will not come, Yan Xiaoshu said. What a joke, how could the princess of Aslan come here? Haha, you slipped. This person is interesting. You can say that she's cold-hearted, leaving as she wants. But then she came all the way here at this time for a secret date. Yet she doesn't meet us while she's here. Are we that undesirable to be seen with? What a big shot. It seemed An Mei was still displeased with Xiaoxi. What else could Yan Xiaoshu say? With the sensitive nature of Ana's status, if Yi Zissou was not saying anything, he could say even less. After traveling, Yan Xiaoshu had a deeper understanding of how big this world actually was. It was useless to have thought that he was capable of achieving anything. Actually, he leaned towards An Mei's way of thinking. Putting all things aside, he and An Mei could not even attend those kinds of gatherings, so even if Wang Jung had the ability, even if he received the highest award, so what? As a country, Aslan would value talents, but that was the extent. If Wang Jung wanted to marry the princess of Aslan, putting aside distance, the royal family would not allow it, even if it was just a romantic relationship. Perhaps the person within the situation could not see the implications, but from another perspective, wasn't the purpose of life to live it to the fullest? Who knew about the future? Also, giving up was definitely not what Wang Jung would do. Alright, don't frown anymore. Other people may think that I'm bullying you. When they woke up the next day, Wang Jung was already back. Xiao Fei and her group had already submitted their preliminary research findings. As for the other details, they would work them out when they returned to Earth. Everyone needed to pack. The flight was booked and they were going back to Earth. After all, this was not a tour, so they had to follow the itinerary. Besides, there was no good service for their returning journey. The new Olympus still had to carry out other missions. They were taking the transportation line back. Even though she did not sleep at all, Xiao Fei was very energetic. Wang Jung sat upright and still. He was thinking how he could explain the matter. The new report has already been submitted. Your name is once again in first place. We made this decision together. Xiao Fei did not even give Wang Jung the chance to reject. Teacher, I'm just a student. I will be put in a troublesome position if you do it this way. Wang Jung smiled bitterly. Also, Wang Jung felt that he was advancing further and further on the road of research. You should know, even the old merchant did not recommend him moving down this path. Really, I think that it is indeed a problem for you to be a student. I'm planning to apply for you to be a teaching assistant at school. Xiao Fei winked. Obviously, with Wang Jung's current situation, it was a waste for him to continue being a student. Professor Wang, it sounded fun. Wang Jung was so shocked that he jumped up. Please spare me. If I do this, the mecha department will expel me. Don't worry. I will settle the other things. This matter is decided. It won't delay your IG selection. Besides, after becoming the teaching assistant, you'll enjoy more freedom in organizing your time. Don't you want to spend more time training? Xiao Fei had highlighted what Wang Jung wanted the most. Putting other things aside, just based on the attendance requirements, it would make things more convenient for Wang Jung. He could mark his own attendance. Going back to the topic, let me know what you think. Why did you think in that direction? When we were chatting, we actually discussed these questions. I went back to do quite a bit of research. During training, I would brainstorm. When I'm exercising, my brain always comes up with some unique ideas, but I still could not solve the last step. You have already completed 80% of the work. The last part is simply a question of time. Sometimes I wonder if you come from the future. How do you know so much? Xiao Fei looked at Wang Jung suspiciously. Ahem, teacher, if I was from the future, would I dare to apply for Aries College? You mean you feel wrong to have gotten me as your teacher? No, you are the best teacher. Wang Jung smiled. Luckily, Xiao Fei had no intention of pushing the topic. Maybe it was because Wang Jung was too outstanding, but after some time, Xiao Fei had already gotten used to it. Anyway, they did discuss the project from many aspects. It was just that they did not expect Wang Jung to link the different aspects together so perfectly. He was just like an old scientist who had been in the physics world for decades. Oh, yes, tomorrow we will be taking the Aslan Empire Princess's ship. Princess Aina wants to send us off, but don't be enticed, Xiao Fei said. Even she could not reject Aina's offer, but she also thought that it was because Aina wanted to entice Wang Jung. It was known that Aslan treated talents very generously. Wang Jung raised his head and proudly proclaimed, reporting, Teacher, Wang Jung was born an Earthling and he will die an Earthling. Even if Princess Aina wants to marry me, she can only marry to Earth. Wang Jung will not marry into Aslan. Xiao Fei did not know whether to laugh or cry. You think too highly of yourself. Okay, go pack up. We have to board the ship tonight. The others also received the news. They were complaining about how the Earth Federation was unsupportive, having such a large difference in the quality of service for sending them off and back. The Milky Way transportation line obviously could not compare to a private spaceship. Who would have thought that the Princess of Aslan would want to send them off on her own flagship? This was just too much. They could also see the beautiful princess. What good fortune. The Aslan Empire's princess. Even though everyone acted like it was nothing much, Yan Xiaoshu really wanted to howl. This was too damn fancy. They thought that the new Olympus was already amazing, but compared to Aslan, it was nothing. They were on entirely different levels. The difference was even larger when comparing the facilities inside the ship. It felt as though they belonged to two different generations of technology. These are your rooms, please help yourself. As the princess's esteemed guests, you will enjoy the best service on the princess. I'll be your personal server for this trip. I'm Luo Lin. The server receiving them was a very beautiful girl. She wore a unique style of clothes. It was the Aslan Palace uniform. She was likely a member of the royal service crew. And May could not wait any longer and opened the room door. It was too grand. Once they heard that they had to go back using the Milky Way transportation line, it would mean that there would be a number of people squeezed into one ship. Even if it was an economy class bunker, it would be uncomfortable. Obviously, they could not afford the cost of first-class bunkers. Yet the room in the Aslan Princess looked to be at least 50 square meters. This was simply extravagant. This is for us. Yes. Everyone's room is the same. Luo Lin smiled. She was very polite and confident, yet not prideful. This was a trait of Aslan citizens. And May's mouth dropped. This was too grand. The interior was designed like a 5-star hotel. There was even a huge bathtub. This is too grand, and May was not one to be easily shocked, but this was indeed a little shocking. Luo Lin smiled. Xie Yachting was speechless with surprise. As Xiao Fei had invited the people from Karagal to leave together, the team from Karagal would enjoy the honor of entering the princess as well. It was good that there were only 3 of them. However, who would have thought that Princess Aina would give them such a grand reception? It was too extravagant. The Aslan Princess is the princess's private ship. It services only the princess. Everyone was stunned. This Zeus-sized ship was a private ship. This was too awesome. Everyone said that those who were born in the Aslan royal family were the most fortunate. Looking at the situation now, this seemed to be true. There was a joke regarding the Aslan royal family. One time, during the Milky Way Alliance Children's Day, children from all countries met to chat. They started talking about their journey to the meeting. One child who was a member of the Aslan royal family was puzzled and asked, "Why would there be so many people on a spaceship? Aren't spaceships all private?" Then the other children could not continue the conversation. Yan Xiaoshu secretly gave Wang Zheng a thumbs up. This good service was obviously prepared for Wang Zheng, or else why would it be so extravagant? Of course, Aina's identity as a princess in itself was highly regarded. After all, Xiao Fei and Wang Zheng had received the highest praise at the gathering. Aslan was also famous for valuing talents. At this moment, Luo Lin's Skylink rang. "Everyone, the princess will be arriving soon together with her distinguished guest, a prince from Atlantis. If not for something important, Aina would definitely come to meet them, but the Prince of Atlantis?" Yan Xiaoshu did not know why, but his heart skipped a beat. This was bad. What was this stupid Prince of Atlantis doing with Aina? Wang Zheng's facial expression did not change at all, but Luo Lin really could not read the atmosphere and added one more sentence. Prince Hao Lin and the princess were like old friends upon their first meeting. And May, on the other hand, was quite interested in seeing what the Prince of Atlantis would be like. Not long later, there were sounds of footsteps approaching. Aina and the Prince of Atlantis had arrived. At that moment, everyone was stunned. Tyrant Su was surprised. This Prince of Atlantis was just a child who was not even 10 years old, truly unbelievable. And May was shocked too. At this distance, with this demeanor, and May felt that this princess looked familiar. Who did she look like? She could not recall at the moment. Just as she was going to tell Yi Zissou, she realized that Yi Zissou was very calm. It was as though she knew the princess. Then she looked at Tyrant Su. He was also calm. Something was wrong. What was going on? Why were they all calm? Was she the only one who seemed like a country bumpkin? This was not logical. Then Princess Aina gave her a very familiar smile. In that moment, and May felt as though she was struck by lightning. Oh God! This was not true. Don't tell me, Xiao Shi was actually Aina Aslan? And May opened her mouth and looked at Yan Xiaoshu. She hoped that Yan Xiaoshu would give her an answer that this was not true and that it was all a coincidence. But Tyrant Su slightly nodded his head, and May froze. Xiao Fei and Aina did not have much contact, so she did not really have any great reaction. However, she also felt as though she had seen Aina before. At that moment, she did not have the time to react. However, she was still very grateful for Aina's invitation. This allowed their travels to be more relaxing. After having some small talk with Xiao Fei, Aina introduced, "This is the second prince of Atlantis. Right now he is on his way to Aslan and he really wanted to get to know you all." This little boy was very handsome. He was young but very calm. He looked so cute wearing a tiny suit. The little prince smiled. "Hi, everyone, I'm Hao Lin Zhou Atlas. I'm 9.5 this year. It is nice to meet you all." Everyone smiled. This cute little boy was like a doll. If not for his status, and Mei would hug him, he was too cute. Hao Lin was judging Wang Zheng strangely. "Wang Zheng, nice to meet you." As he said this, he took the initiative to put out his hand. Aina, who was right beside him, was stunned. The usual Atlantis etiquette had very limited body contact. They would not shake the hands of people they had just met. This was true especially for the royal family, unless that person was very interested in the person they met. When Aina talked about Wang Zheng, this little prince said he wanted to meet him. She, of course, would not talk about the relationship between Wang Zheng and her. She simply said that he was an award recipient. For some unknown reason, when Wang Zheng looked at this little guy, he felt a sense of familiarity, a feeling that could not be described. The moment he shook that small hand, the two of them felt as though they were shocked by electricity. This was too inexplicable. It was obvious that the gaze of the young prince showed that he was puzzled too. "It was nice meeting you all. Please excuse me." The strange little prince left after this short meeting. It was as though he had come just to meet Wang Zheng. Just like what they guessed, this prince was indeed of mixed blood. Atlantis citizens seldom married outsiders, but there was this one bloodline in the royal family that would definitely marry humans. This was also one of the conditions that the Atlantis Republic had to fulfill in order to join the Milky Way Alliance. And this little prince belonged to this bloodline. At the same time, they were mainly in charge of the communication between Atlantis and humans. Hao Lin did find it strange. He had received Ya Shuman's report. Who would have thought that he would have the chance to meet him here? So he decided to come over to take a look. He did not expect to really feel a certain strength from Wang Zheng, although he had to admit that it was very weak. This was indeed a very rare situation. Aina's friendliness and great hospitality made the whole team extremely excited, as though they had received another award. This was such a great honor. And Mei and Yan Xiaoshu returned to the room. The whole way to their room, and Mei's mind was blank. When the two of them sat face to face, Yan Xiaoshu did not say anything. He knew that Mei needed time to digest the news. To be honest, even though he was the first to know the truth, many times, Yan Xiaoshu felt that it was all just a dream. It was too unrealistic, yet it was the truth. "You knew already?" Mei asked quietly. Yan Xiaoshu nodded. "I did not hide from you on purpose. I promised boss." "How? The princess of Aslan, how did she come to like Wang Zheng?" Mei felt as though this world was a little out of order. At this stage, it would seem too childish of her to challenge Aina. This world was never fair. Aina was the type of person that stood at the tip of the human pyramid. One would not even have the confidence to reason with her. Even if Mei had always believed that qualifications were not a problem, she also lacked the courage to do anything. Even when Aina was just before her eyes, she could not bring herself to speak. This was a regal presence, the presence of a princess. No wonder every time Mei saw Aina, she was speechless. All the words that she had prepared would not come out. Now she finally understood. She also understood why Yi Zissou could not take the initiative. When facing Aina Aslan, the only thing her love rivals could do was to wait. Earth will enjoy a boost in reputation. Even the princess of Aslan is gracing them with so much honor. Even a minister would not enjoy such a reception. Yes, we are enjoying this because of them. Moon citizens are prideful and Martians are barbaric. It is true that only Earthlings are more magnanimous. The people of Karagal also enjoyed the honor. Xiao Fei did not forego her invitation to leave together with them just because of Aina's invitation. Xie Yachting, on the other hand, was quiet. This was all too amazing. How did it end up like this? Her girl's intuition told her that the way Aina looked at Wang Zheng was special. The two of them definitely knew each other. That was not the attitude one held towards strangers. She studied bionics under bioengineering and was very good at observing such behavioral cues. She was such an excellent physics student, and not only that, she was also an participant. Was this all a coincidence, and only the name was the same? Rastin had a very high opinion of Wang Zheng. Putting aside ability, this person knew how to take good care of the team. He really should not belittle anyone. Wang Zheng also did not expect that Rastin would have such a high opinion of him. Wang Zheng and Aina had 3 more days with each other. However, they had to part ways soon. Even though the two of them were very level-headed, they were a little reluctant to part ways. Throughout this period of time, Yi Zixu seemed normal. She did not do anything out of ordinary, so In Mei lost her courage to confront Aina. This was the first time she did not say anything. Perhaps she was too loyal, but she felt that this extravagant trip was nothing to be too happy about. On the other hand, Yi Zixu was calmer and toured around the princess. To her, it was a good experience. Xiao Fei and her group, on the other hand, borrowed this good environment and continued to rush their work to complete their scientific reasoning. The spaceship was in a special atmosphere. It was a pity that even though everyone seemed busy, Wang Zheng and Aina did not have many opportunities to be alone. After all, there were eyes everywhere on the princess. But the two of them were happy just being together. That strange little prince from Atlantis did not appear again. 3 days later, the spaceship left immortal Puluo's galaxy. The two of them had to resist the urge to hug each other as they said goodbye. Aina's reluctant gaze was melting Wang Zheng's heart. At this moment, Wang Zheng resolved himself to get qualified for the IG preliminary competition. Not only that, he wanted to beat all his enemies at the capital of the Aslan Empire. This was the present he wanted to give to Aina. Some say that people meet to separate. All meetings are short and separation is the only constant. After they switched to take the Milky Way transportation line, the atmosphere became livelier. And Mei, who had been acting strangely, finally resumed her usual self as a mature woman. According to Mei, the atmosphere there was too pressuring. Everyone was always so polite. She could not withstand that atmosphere. Now she could speak to her heart's content. Sometimes, true happiness was living life the way you wanted to. Actually, Yan Xiaoshu had been holding back for very long too. He was mainly afraid of bringing shame to Wang Zheng. They were brothers, closer than blood-related brothers, so if Wang Zheng really ended up together with the princess, he would be the most suitable candidate for the best man position for their wedding. He would fight whoever who dared to compete for that position with his life. So, no matter what, he needed to leave a good impression. Xiao Fei and her group also heaved a sigh of relief. The environment now was really unsuitable for research, so the whole team could now take a break. They have learned a lot from this Roland Garros trip. At this moment, what happened at Roland Garros had already spread through the solar system and reached Earth. It gave the lukewarm state of the solar system's science world a boost in confidence. A feeling of having signs of revival. Obviously, this would maintain a period of high morale. Except to Wang Zheng, this meant that there was only a little bit of time left during the holiday, and he needed to enter the training mode. The second phase of training for IG was definitely not going to be easy. The key point was that now he had a great goal that no one else had. Even the Aslan Empire, who was hosting the competition, would not dare to claim that they would achieve victory. This was because the Atlantis Republic, the Arbiter Republic, and other first-class countries would be sending their young elites to participate in the event. But no matter who it was, no one could stop him, except Wang Zheng was not the only one who wanted to win this honor. All of the participants' determination was no lesser than Wang Zheng's. There was a mysterious district on Mars that was surrounded by a restricted area measuring about 1,000 miles. Only the powerful officers in Mars could enter this district. It was not much of a secret that the district was the center of faith in Mars. The Sage Sect, Mars' pride and its center of spiritual belief. Only the Lai family from Mars had survived the revolution that year. The Lai family's survival was not solely due to their own ability though. To put it shortly, it was a type of luck, it was destiny. Even the more powerful Saint Church was destroyed, but the Lai family survived, and it was because of the Sage Sect. You could say that the Sage Sect had borrowed divine power to do things that surpassed normality and saved the Lai family. At the same time, they saved the Sage Sect. But after that time, the the sage sect retired into the background and became purely a place of worship. Or perhaps more accurately, the symbol of Martian civilization. On the surface, they did not interfere with worldly matters. "Sir, Lai Guang wishes to meet you, he is outside." A little boy, about 12 years old, bowed and reported to the sage. The sage that the little boy addressed was very plain-looking. He was dressed in linen and wore no shoes. He looked to be around 40, but one could not guess his real age based on his appearance. Upon hearing the boy, he opened his eyes. "Bring him in." The Lai family and the sage sect had a close relationship. They were almost like one body. In history, there were even cases where the Lai family head took up the role of the head priest of the sage sect. When Lai Guang returned to Mars, most of the time, he stayed at the sage sect as its member. Every day he was there, he lived as though he was a monk in training. Lai Guang walked in and bowed to the sage. "Teacher, your disciple pays his respects." That wanton and unrestrained playboy disappeared completely. Even his hair was cut short. He was wearing the white sage sect robe and his temperament had changed a lot. The sage, Sarah Odin, smiled. "That's enough, there are no outsiders here, you don't have to act anymore. Only teacher can understand me. Nature is the divine way. That was what you said. But I did feel some change after this period of tough training. I will work harder." Odin's gaze seemed to have the power to see through worldly matters. 500 years have passed, time passes really quickly. Lai Guang was stunned. Teacher had not been behaving normally recently. Sometimes he would have his head in the clouds and sometimes he would be anxious. You should know, in the hearts of the Martians, every generation of the sage was an existence equivalent to God. He could point the direction for Mars. While Martians did not dominate the Milky Way in these last few years, no matter how horrifying the wars were, Mars could always hold its invincible position, and the reason was that the sage's shadow was everywhere. "Teacher, you are lamenting again. Your disciple has really changed for the better." Odin smiled. "The divine secret key has appeared. The new generation is rising. Do what you want to. You do not need to care about how others look at you." Teacher, you know that I'm here to bid farewell?" Lai Guang said. He was surprised. Odin smiled. "Go. The IG that you wanted to participate in this time, I have already arranged everything for you." Lai Guang was stunned. Teacher always said things halfway, but no matter how rebellious he could be, and while he dared to talk back with his father, he would never do so with the sage. Lai Guang bade farewell to his teacher respectfully. This period of time that he spent at the sage sect seemed to wash away the impurities of the world. He was like a new person. That year, the reason he could leave home was because his teacher did not stop him. If not, he could not have left. He could ignore his old man, but he would never not listen to his teacher. As Lai Guang was going to leave, Odin's voice sounded from his back. "No matter what, on the Lai family's genealogy, you will always have the surname Lai." The Lai family. The oldest family on Mars. When humans were just exploring the solar system, the Lai family already existed, and they were already a glorious family. Over thousands of years of time, the power ruling Mars kept changing. Super strong kings appeared as well. However, these families or powers eventually disappeared or weakened and died. Only the Lai family remained on Mars. They built their base there and their position never changed. Today, the Martians started to be proud of having the Lai family on Mars. You should know, there were similar powers on Earth and the Moon that reached the height of powers many times. They were all destroyed, but not the Lai family. This was the pride of Martians. Mars' invisible royal family, the Lai family, please come to a stop, in front is private property. Before one reached the Lai family's gates, 5 kilometers before the entrance, the traveling Lai Guang was stopped by security. Lai Guang smiled. This was considered being polite. Those who could not recognize those of the Lai family were not many, but neither were they little. Some did it accidentally, some on purpose. Before Lai Guang spoke, the communicator of the guard who had stopped him suddenly burst with activity. The guard immediately turned pale and his face showed surprise. He immediately bowed deeply. "My apologies, this lowly one did not know that the patriarch was back." "No worries. He did not possess a strong sense of belonging to this family." Lai Guang patted the guard's shoulders before walking up the mountain entrance. On both sides of the road were large trees. These were planted during the Great Martian terraforming. The trees that were older than 1,000 years were too numerous to count. Even the smaller trees were at least a few hundred years old. The entire mountain had a radius of 100 li, 57 kilometers. All of this land belonged to the Lai family. The main residence was right at the entrance of the mountain range. The mountain range itself held numerous secrets. Even Lai Guang only knew just a little about it, but it was no more than a single hair on the back of 9 oxen. The housekeeper took 10 odd servants to wait for Lai Guang in front of the gate. They stood motionless until Lai Guang appeared in front of them. "Welcome home, patriarch." "Family," Lai Guang nodded his head. His heart felt a little regret. "Patriarch, these servants will be dispatched to follow you. Regardless of what you need, you can inform them." The 10 odd servants saluted Lai Guang. Lai Guang knew that he had to accept it. If he rejected them, a different group of individuals would be chosen to serve him and the process would repeat until he accepted. When Lai Guang returned to his room, he dismissed the servants. They would be in charge of his daily meals and accommodation. After sitting down, the room's door was then pushed open. Without taking a glance, he knew who had arrived. Lai Xin's voice resounded, "Little Guang, you're finally willing to come home?" Little Guang, Lai Guang felt quite helpless. Regardless of how much he protested, so long as he could not beat Lai Xin, she would continue to address him this way. However, deep down, Lai Guang knew that Lai Xin was the only one who treated him as an actual family member. "After not meeting for so long, you seem to have developed quite well." Lai Guang sized up Lai Xin. His experience was quite plentiful when it came to females. Lai Xin's body was well endowed. No one could match it. What was unfortunate was that Lai Guang's words did not deter Lai Xin. On the contrary, Lai Xin walked forward with a smile on her face. "How could you tell? Why don't you give me a baby?" Lai Guang's face immediately turned repulsive. He thought that after numerous years of training, he would no longer fear his sister. Instead, he had been co-ed in their very first exchange. "Sister is now an adult. Please tell me whatever requests you have, except for having a child. Then follow me. You should go there." Lai Xin's facial expression changed almost instantly. "The Lai Fire Cauldron? The Lai Fire Cauldron," Lai Xin said faintly. Lai Guang's face changed slightly. The Lai Fire Cauldron. It was the Lai family's greatest heritage. In a time where Gongfa was difficult to practice, especially when heritages had all been lost, the Lai family's Gongfa was still able to be passed down. Furthermore, the Lai family was still able to maintain a high status. This cauldron, which had over 1,000 years of legacy, was actually the reason why the Lai family was able to produce numerous ability X users. It was their biggest secret. 10 minutes later, Lai Xin had brought Lai Guang to the palace where the Lai family's cauldron was kept. The cauldron was as large as a small garden. It was a square cauldron with doors on each side of it, allowing one to walk inside the cauldron itself. "Go." Upon entering the cauldron, a blast of hot air rushed at him as the door opened. It was as though the air itself was possessed and had a spiritual nature as it rushed into his pores. With the Lai's fire technique, this spiritual air would gradually turn into a form of power and remain inside one's body. A strange fire array could be seen inside the Lai fire cauldron. However, when one tried to touch it, it would be no more than an illusion. An old man was sitting in the center of the Lai family cauldron. After seeing Lai Xin and Lai Guang come in, he immediately stood up. "Come over here." Every disciple of the Lai family would have one opportunity to refine themselves. His opportunity had come extremely late. Lai Guang smiled bitterly in his heart. The knots in his heart were difficult to undo. Very often, he felt a sense of inferiority. "Go. I believe you can do it." Ever since Lai Guang had returned, Lai Xin had treated him as her little brother. This opportunity for him to go the cauldron was also something she had fought for. Lai Guang could see how much care and concern Lai Xin had for him. At this point, Lai Guang finally understood. His surname did not matter. Who he was did not matter either. What was important was that he was Lai Xin's little brother. He would use his life to fight for his only family member. Lai Guang walked forward with no hesitation. Regardless of the trials, he would do anything for Lai Xin. The old man's expression towards Lai Guang was very calm. it was clear that there was a little bit of scorn in it as well. To those not of the main branch, if the old rules were followed, he would never have a chance to step inside here. Lai Shin's request was meaningless. However, the sage had made a request, and that was why he had the opportunity to do so. However, would he even succeed? The live fire cauldron sealed shut. Lai Guang sat down cross-legged. What he needed to do was cultivate the Lai family technique inside the cauldron. Everything else was up to fate. After quite a bit of time, there was no reaction. Second uncle, could there have been a problem? Is this the right time? Lai Shin was slightly anxious. The old man looked nonchalantly at Lai Guang, who was sitting inside. Pure yang is leaking. His gongfa is too weak. His attitude is insufficient. Even though you are from the Lai family, everything is up to the heavens. Lai Guang gritted his teeth. Suddenly, he had a mirthless smile on his face. I remember the patriarch saying that Lai Guang was born a Lai family member. Even when he dies, his spirit is that of the Lai family. I think don't second uncle forgot that, did you? The old man stared blankly. He gave Lai Shin a glance before relaxing slightly, clearly unaffected. This Lai family cauldron was like a cage. Lai Guang was feeling slightly bored. He continued to cultivate his gongfa, however, nothing happened. Was his strength insufficient? Although his body was inside the fire cauldron, he could clearly see everything that was happening outside. How Lai Shin was worried about him and how second uncle was peering at him. She was always calm. She had possessed the Lai family's greatest talent. However, there were times where even she was worried. Lai Guang knew that he had to get a reaction out of the cauldron. If not, he would truly be given up on by the family. Even the sage would not be able to say anything. The chance was given to him, but he was unable to make use of it. Lai Shin took a step forward, but the old man stopped her. Second uncle, little Lai has been gone for too long. He needs some guidance, let me do it. The old man smiled emotionlessly. He had the gall to remind me to follow the patriarch's words. Are you willing to go against the family's rules? The Lai fire cauldron is an individual trial. There can be no external help. Even the future family head cannot break these rules. Lai Guang felt his own body getting hotter and hotter. F***ck. That D***mn old man. He dared to disrespect Lai Shin? This patriarch here could destroy him at any time. The Lai fire cauldron suddenly shuddered. Was it an earthquake? The entire Lai fire cauldron suddenly ignited. Lai Guang, who was inside the fire cauldron, looked as though he was reborn in a baptism of fire. He stood up, his finger pointing at the old man outside. He was gushing with power. You old fogey, respect the future head of the family. Subspace flight was extremely boring. However, a life without skeleton was considered to be something extremely fortunate for young deer. To be frank, young deer was now the most famous commentator in court. He had recently received an award for being the best commentator. However, along with that award, young deer had also won the fans' choice for being the most vicious commentator. Today was a Friday on Earth. It was the start of the professional tournaments. As the year's best commentator, young deer was the main commentator for the competition. This was a professional 5v5 match. The battle was in a deadlock and both teams were extremely strong. Both sides were defensive, and as the situation progressed, they consistently swapped between offense and defense. Professional competitions usually had opponents of similar skill, so there were no fancy fights. It was just a competition to see who was more careful. Neither side was competing in terms of skills. It was a test of their tactics and their ability to react. It was also a test to see how well a team could work together. As Old Deer commentated, he took a swig of milk from a carton. In the chat box for the live stream, a series of milk carton emoticons immediately flooded the chat. This was a sort of improvised entertainment. So long as young deer was commentating, even if skeleton was not a competitor, these milk cartons would appear to provoke Old Deer. This was also Old Deer's aim when he drank milk on livestream. This also had Solin's influence in it. Solin had also made a concession. If Old Deer did not drink milk, people would not be interested in throwing milk cartons his way. However, when he drank milk, the audience would definitely grow excited. As a result, Solin was extremely excited. Thus, he signed a contract to get Old Deer to drink milk. If he did so, he would get a share of the profits. With money to take, Old Deer was still a professional at heart. He was, after all, a professional commentator. The milk company was excited. What could be a better form of advertisement? Several large milk companies were trying to get Old Deer to be their representative. Their sales would immediately jump by several times. The stalemate was broken. While drinking the milk, Old Deer suddenly started commentating. Carl's team has made a mistake. It is now too late to defend mid-lane. Team SK has launched a surprise attack. After he finished speaking, Team SK grouped up in the middle. This was a long-planned attack. The opponent, Team Carl, was at the bottom lane and immediately sought to support the middle. However, top lane was too greedy. They wanted to break the opponent's defense and was therefore too slow to defend. Carl's top lane was too greedy. If it was a casual match, it wouldn't mean much. However, in a professional game, a few seconds can spell the difference between victory and defeat. As a result, the mid lane had a fight of 4 version 5. In a group match, SK was quickly able to destroy Carl's tank mech. Without the tank, the rest of the mecha could only retreat. Even if top lane returned, he could not do much. They had allowed SK to take the initiative. SK regrouped and pushed towards the enemy's fortress. The game's conclusion had more or less been set. Old Deer gave a slight smile. This was professionalism. Everything he said came true. I would like to thank everyone for watching this. I also hope that everyone votes for me as the most professional commentator. I am the best CT commentator in the universe. Thank you. The match ended. However, when Old Deer started speaking, the viewers immediately became excited. He was truly attracting the ire of others. What a B** starred. What was he talking about? The universe's best commentator. Then in this case, I'm a god. A milk carton was overdramatically tossed over. After the battle ended, viewers lingered in the channel as they were still not over it. Old Deer's words incited ridicule and people discovered that it was fun to tease Old Deer in the days without Skeleton. Although the professional league has ended, the channel will not be closed. Young Deer has announced his intention of leading a battle team with fans in 3 rounds of friendlies to beat some students. What are you waiting for? The registration address is right below. CT jumped at this opportunity to broadcast advertisements on the channel to the viewers. What? Old Deer needed to personally take part in the friendly match. It was a chance to beat Old Deer. Countless people wanted to register but were forced to reconsider upon looking at the registration terms and conditions. Registration was only successful if people became members of the Young Deer fan club. Looking at Old Deer's sly smile on the logo of Young Deer fan club caused people to hesitate. After nail-biting considerations, many decided that they would go ahead and join in order to battle with Old Deer. Old Deer had a huge smile on his face since his fan club's popularity went off the charts. As he slowly opened another room for people to join, he said, "Do you know why Skeleton was able to win? It was because of my commentary." The hidden message behind was that if Skeleton challenged him, he would be extinguished quickly if he entered the battle. The chat exploded instantly and countless people were fighting for the opportunity to challenge Young Deer. Money? That was like the floating clouds in the sky? CT officials were responsible for the 3 friendly matches since they were highly efficient. The games were ready and the contestants were selected using a lucky draw among members of the Young Deer fan club. This was to Young Deer's advantage since the quality among his fans was diversely variant. A single weak player would drag down the team. When the battle started, Young Deer was overbearing and headed for the bottom lane. He employed the global voice chat and said, "My fans, do come after me. I will kill every single one of you that comes for me." Everyone, of course, was not shy and 5 people rushed to the bottom lane to gank Old Deer. Old Deer tapped into his team's channel and told his 4 teammates that he will treat them to a nice meal another day and hoped that they would push faster on the top lane. "No problem. Old Deer, it has to be a big meal. KFC is not an option." Upon receiving the replies, he decisively guarded under the tower on the bottom lane and continued teasing the opponents in the global voice chat. "Where are you all? You are too slow. If it was me, I would already be here." 5 mecha appeared and dived under the tower for a kill. As for the top lane, which was being pushed in quickly, who cares, it was worth it to have an attack on Old Deer. Old Deer maneuvered well and was able to escape gank attempt after gank attempt and even managed to get a kill on an opponent who was inexperienced. Just when Old Deer was about to be owned, victory. The top lane was pushed in and the throne was taken. Old Deer roared and said, "Call me God." Victory. Did everyone catch the exciting kill I pulled off? 5-man gank. You guys ignited the inner beast within me. Seems like if I were to practice more, the skeleton's winning streak will be ended by me. In this moment, Old Deer was fidgety. After that, he won yet again in the second game. In the third game, there were 2 more half-professional players. Perhaps Old Deer was too excited since he rushed out of the defensive area. Others were like wolves who gathered immediately in an attempt to assassinate Old Deer. Deer God was crushed amidst fire and smoke to the delight of hundreds of thousands of viewers on the channel. It was as if they were celebrating during a festival. Countless requested for an additional game to be played. Many who paid $500 to have a chance of playing were not selected since only 5 people were lucky enough to be chosen. After a day's work, Old Deer went backstage and massaged his own shoulders. He had overexerted himself just now. A staff member walked over and said, "Boss Deer, someone has delivered 5 big boxes of milk for you. Are they yours? If not, I will get someone to chase him away." "No, I ordered them. I will go and retrieve them now," responded Old Deer quickly. The staff member was shocked. "Boss Deer, are you addicted to milk? They actually delivered 5 big boxes?" "That is still fine, thanks." Old Deer changed hastily and rushed out. He signed some documents and got them to move the boxes into his car. Old Deer looked at the time while driving. He was not returning home but was headed towards the suburbs. He also listened to the news on the radio, which talked about Andromeda pirates taking a huge hit and the scattering of smaller pirates in all directions. He slowed down his car and slowly turned into a modest area. The houses here and the surroundings were rather poor, and the facilities were inconvenient. As his car stopped at a front yard, a bunch of kids happily came out to greet him. Old Deer, what good food did you bring this time?" Old Deer, I want to ride a huge horse." "How many times have I said this? Call me Young Deer. Have you seen such a young and handsome Old Deer? I brought everyone milk and toys. Xiao Do, have you been studying well?" "Old Deer, I got an A+, which is the best grade." An old lady who looked to be in her 60s walked over with a warm smile on her face. "Mr. Liu, knew it was you. You're so punctual each week. You should get some rest first since you've been working so hard." "Haha, I miss the kids." The Old Deer now was a different person than the one who was at work previously. He was so much more relaxed and free. Old Deer, last time you said that if I got an A, you would take us to the aquarium for a tour." "Haha, when have I not kept up my end of a promise?" "Old Deer, hurry over here, I've painted you. Do you think it's nice?" There was a tag on the door that read, "Happy Community Private Welfare Home for Disabled Children." What do humans live for? Everyone had a different answer to that. Upon returning from a space expedition, the others were still very excited, but Wang Zheng felt a sense of belonging upon returning. No matter where he went, the warmth felt on Earth was incomparable to other places. Although he had not traveled to many places on this trip, Wang Zheng still felt that there was no planet that had as much energy as Earth. Wang Zheng occasionally doubted his own subjectivity. The type of indescribable feeling he was experiencing could be due to subjectivity factors. The small team dissolved after returning to Earth. And Mei left, Tyrant Su was alone, and Xiao Fei and Marcus took a vacation after submitting their research topic. Everyone had a high workload during this period, so they needed a break, or else their brains would have exploded from the stress. Wang Zheng rented an apartment near the school. He was no longer a poor student and was actually quite wealthy now. He chased Tyrant Su away when he brought up getting a presidential suite at Shangri-La. Xiao Shu and others such as Chen Shu were having eventful lives as they were enjoying their youths. Wang Zheng's life was not like that, however. School, apartment, and training took up most of his time. When he was free, he would attempt to work on assignments left by old merchant. He was different from others as he did not have much interest in shopping. Using Tyrant Su's words, others would have a hasty look at most, but Wang Zheng's thinking was hasty instead. He was already beginning to lead a middle-aged life. Xiaoshu had plenty to brag about as he went to Roland Garros and knew many important people. Tyrant Su had regained his former glory as he was flaunting off to kindergarten kids. Xiaoshu loved crowds and had no intention in belittling others when showing off in front of them. He loved making new friends. The old contract with Solon has reached maturity and the new contract was on a per-battle basis. Wang Zheng did not have much interest in CT anymore. Solon wanted to invite the skeleton for a battle in order to put up a performance, but Wang Zheng was not interested at all. Although feeling slightly regretful, Wang Zheng was the person who understood Xiaoshu the most and knew that Xiaoshu was an adventurous person who did not fear his opponent. As Xiaoshu rejected Solon and indicated that the skeleton might retire, Solon did not take the news well. The secretary knocked on the door and went in bravely as it was quiet inside. He discovered Solon sitting there with a pale face. This shocked the secretary and she wanted to use her skills to resuscitate her boss who had an overbearing presence in the CT scene. Solon was indeed dumbfounded as his biggest worry had turned into a reality. He knew that a person who could even tame the experts of the Lai family and Norden Star would not stay for long. However, unknowingly, having a skeleton battle each week was becoming an important aspect of his life. It was the same as becoming the biggest skeleton corp in the solar system. The only thing that Solon could take comfort in is that the opponent did not outright reject him but only commented that there was not much meaning behind Solon's arrangement. "What's the matter, Xiao Ya?" Solon looked at his new secretary. He did not want to recruit her. However, this was the standard procedure for the president of the solar system region. He thought of a classic phrase. "Let the secretary handle things to be done. If there are none, then do the secretary." Unfortunately, Solon did not have such a poor habit. "President. The situation is pretty bad. Players from the immortal barbarian star in Andromeda are making a huge commotion after 18 straight victories," said Xiao Ya. Immortal barbarian star and Norden Star were the same as they were both main planets of Andromeda. The story behind immortal barbarian star's name is that in the early days, explorers who discovered this planet felt that it was similar in appearance to when Earth was undeveloped. There were already habitants on the planet with decent intelligence. However, the planet was relatively undeveloped and was culturally distinct as well. They were only considered to be a semi-mechanical civilization with well-maintained environment conditions. Of course, in that era, humans invaded that planet without any hesitation. After thousands of years of change, Immortal Barbarian became an important force to the Milky Way Alliance. The Immortal Barbarian Star was the biggest competitor of the Norden Star as it was booming in its production of mechs. As humans were engaged in skirmishes with the Norden Star before conducting expeditions in Andromeda, this created historical resentment between Immortal Barbarian and Norden. Although this has faded over time, the rivalry between them has not, as both wanted to be the main star in Andromeda. Solon had a headache because this affair was caused by Skeleton, who had displayed his capabilities and taught the people on the Norden Star a lesson. This allowed the Immortal Barbarian players to find a target. Abusing people on Earth would equate to a lesson for the people of the Norden Star. Since you were abused by people on Earth, and if we manage to return the favor to them, you people of Norden would have to fear us Immortal Barbarian people more in the future. The challenger team from Earth in the Immortal Barbarian region was of top quality. Members of the Throne Masters team were on the same level and would contest players on Earth at 8 o'clock every night. They were open to any players and any play styles. Many responded and competed with them, but the big and famous teams on Earth lost without much of a fight as their opponents displayed terrifying battle prowess. "Oh, get in touch with the prince and the others, we are inviting them to a battle," said Solon. "Yes, boss." Xiao Ya wanted to say something but hesitated as she noticed that her boss was not in the mood to talk. This was not unprecedented and should be kept low profile. Solon felt that he needed to adjust his mindset. He should be happy that he had reached this point and should not disrupt Skeleton's daily routine. This shift in mindset would prove to be a mistake as Earth would go on to face its worst battle. At the school cafeteria, Yan Xiaoshu joined Wang Zheng for a meal. He then told Wang Zheng about his greatest achievements in an overly excited manner. The farmer was able to turn his life around completely. As he continued speaking, the signal system rang and it was Chen Shu. "Xiao Shu, did you grow one?" said Xiao Shu as he felt ridiculed. "Xiao Shu, it would not be this quick," Since Wang Jung is around too, you guys should come over to my place to play. Alan will be there too. Speaking of the limelight, the beach was sunny and filled with beauties in bikinis. Alan was following the beautiful girls running. Wow, he has having a good time in life. Which one is Wang Jung? Let us take a look at the hero of 007. Three beautiful ladies surrounded Chen Shu and Tyrant Su started salivating. What kind of situation was this? These two people had been complaining about how tough each day was throughout the whole semester. Chen Shu in particular was young and was at a disadvantage while searching for a girlfriend. Sometimes, having your intellectual capabilities develop too quickly isn't a good thing. How had things changed so quickly during the holidays? Third sister, can you not fool around? Before Wang Jung responded, Xiaoshu followed up with some quick thinking and said, Sister, how do you do? I am Wang Jung. Then who is that beside you? Laughed Chen Yan. He is my buddy, Tyrant Su. He grew up wearing the same pair of pants, said Wang Jung calmly. Yan Xiaoshu didn't know whether to cry or laugh. They never really wore the same pair of pants. That does not feel very mighty. Sis, a man's might is not based on his appearance. I am mighty too, said Xiaoshu seriously. Haha, you must be Xiaoshu. That must be fun, you little fella, tricking your sister and all, said Chen Yu. Wang Jung smiled and said, next time when there's time. Recently I have been practicing because I would like to avoid being eliminated in the second round. Oh, true. What a pity, I shall wait for the next time too. I need to take care of this kid, else he would not be able to take care of himself, said Tyrant Su regretfully. Screw you. Go if you want to. The people around them felt ridiculed. Xiaoshu did not go and close the Skylink. Xiaoshu still could not get over the fact that Chen Shu had three sisters like that. Life was really filled with all types of surprises. Boss, I found you the best training center. The equipment there is very comprehensive and you should try it out. He then pulled out a gold card with the words, The Strong Ferocious Club, written on it. Why was this name such a good fit with Tyrant Su? Okay, I will give it a try later. Wang Jung shrugged. He felt like he was reaching a breakthrough soon but simply could not finish solving the final piece of the puzzle. After eating, Xiaoshu left as he had plenty of things to settle. Wang Jung followed the map to the Strong Ferocious Club. 188 Jolun Street. The area was not too bad, but the door of the club was rather dull. However, once he was inside, the spacious hall was rather overbearing. Wang Jung had actually seen the sights of the world and this club could compete with the one on Paradise Island, since its facilities were rather comprehensive. The attendant at the entrance assessed Wang Jung, who was in a student uniform. The sight seemed strange. Hi, do you need any help? Wang Jung smiled and said that he was a club member here who wanted to take a look at the gym. The attendant was dumbfounded but responded quickly and asked him to display his membership card. Entry here required $200,000. Although the name was overbearing, it was the best club here in the city. It was no surprise to wonder whether the person resembling a student in front of the attendant was at the wrong place. After all, it was a high-class club and they could not show dissatisfaction towards customers. Wang Jung touched and inspected many items and the attendant did not show any dissatisfaction. Looking around him, the attendant said softly, You might have walked into the wrong place. With all due respect, students cannot afford to use the facilities here. Exercising was a small aspect of the Strong Ferocious Club. Other areas, like physiotherapy, were all rounded and there were only a handful of people who came here to work out. Wang Jung took out Tyrant Su's gold card and said, This should be it. Look, it says Strong Ferocious Club on it. Wang Jung passed the card over and the attendant almost didn't receive it after a slight shiver. He thought to himself, Isn't this a number 1 card? How could this be here? Isn't it here? I'll leave then, my apologies. Wang Jung was fine with that. The attendant was shocked and said, No, it's here. Please keep your card properly. Sorry, I just started working here and I do not know you. Wang Jung smiled and said it was also his first time here. Please follow me. Wang Jung's card gave the waiter a shock. It seemed like Tyrant Su was wasting his money again. He did not mind, however, as long as the place was good enough. Wang Jung's body was getting stronger. With insufficient weights, he would have to waste a large amount of time, making it ineffective. It would also make him miss IG. He was probably the only person who would miss IG training. The gym room is here. It is made according to the highest standards in the solar system. The swimming pool is opposite and our water is filtered through 18 layers when it comes from the Nasi Lake. At the same time, live water that is nutritious to our bodies is retained. Over there, we have physiotherapy facilities boasting the same standards as Paradise Island, and we also have a top-class spa. Wang Jung waved and said he didn't need those and only needed the gym room in front of him. Yes, please, said the attendant as he wiped his sweat. The gym room equipment here was exceptional. Xiao Shu understood him very well, and 2 to 3 hours of practice here a day was sufficient. When Wang Jung trained, he needed to train till his body surpassed the first stage of fatigue. An ordinary training session could not make him feel much. He also felt that his strength had increased after the IG selection trials. This club had a decent amount of privacy and not many visited it. The facilities were high-end, but it was a pity that Wang Jung was only interested in using the gym equipment. Others who came here did not really work out but rather chose to swim, undergo physiotherapy, or relax. The swimming pool was not simple. It covered a large yard and was built similar to a beach. On the top side, there was an automatic shelter too. It gave people the chance to experience leisure in a beach setting in a city. There were a few people drinking and chatting by the pool. Some were discussing business, while some were relaxing. Going for a spa after swimming would eliminate the fatigue accumulated in a day. Although it was pricey here, the membership rates here were rather stable after the opening of the club. There were not many like Wang Jung who came here to train and exercise, since others only came here for mild activities. OMG is so lucky, it's unbelievable that they managed to create a market in the Northern Star. They are now filled with momentum and are unstoppable according to my analysts. I should have bought more of their shares since the price of their shares quadrupled over a mere 6 months. I think the outlook is still positive and they are still worth investing in. Do not be too optimistic. They have invested excessively in space technology, and working with a financial oligopoly could harm you. That makes sense. It will then depend on luck. If they make it, then the situation will turn for the better and they will not be constrained to Earth anymore. If they fail, however, they will just be erased from history. OMG was the most famous organization in the business circle at that point in time. They managed to partner with big interstellar projects and were able to create markets in other planets. Their brand value had improved rapidly, and it was rumored that they were in talks to work with circulation channels on the moon. This reflected high ambitions. The weights room was not used by anyone in this type of place. This was to Wang Jung's delight, however. He shifted equipment he needed into the room and decided to start from 5 times weight. The one at his school was rather poor and his school was stingy with the usage too, as usage was limited. It felt like it was to save electricity. The weight started increasing, and under 10 times weight, Wang Jung was sweating profusely as 2 hours passed by quickly. He also managed to consume some snacks and drinks for free. Wang Jung showered and ate to his stomach's delight. He could not help but acknowledge how good life would be if he was rich. He was not aware of what type of card tyrant Sue had signed up for. As he ate, a waitress who looked like she was 20 years old came to him. She was shocked at how much he ate but tried to hide it. This really is free of charge? Wang Jung felt like he had eaten too much. He, however, felt more confident and felt like he should thank Solon, who helped him through difficult times. The waitress smiled and said, "You can eat as much as you want, it's all free." "Aren't you busy? Why are you only serving me? I am your exclusive assistant and I am Xiao Yun. I will serve your needs during your time at the club." Wang Jung was surprised. Tyrant Su really knew how to spend money. "Oh, it is fine. You can rest. If there is anything, I will call for you." Xiao Yun smiled and nodded. Customer service was the highest priority here. Besides, it was her first time meeting such a friendly VIP. Wang Jung had finally succeeded after all his failures, but on that very night, Earth's CT region encountered a disaster. Bragging Simon, Prince, Hammer, Truth, Demon Dragon's Arrow. They were the best of the best in the Earth region. All of them were within the top 10 of the Clash of King rankings. This formidable team could easily qualify for the grand finals battle in the solar system. Of course, The opponent had formed their own dream team as well. The presence of Skeleton had pushed the popularity of CT in the Earth region to a whole new level. The previous battle with the Immortal Barbarian team had brought in over 6 million subscribers. Under normal conditions, even if the charisma of those 5 players were added up together, it would not even come close to this level of interest. Bragging Simon took the middle lane. Prince and Hammer took the top lane. Truth and Demon Dragon's Arrow took the bottom lane. All 3 lanes were covered. No matter who they were matched against, they had a 50% chance of winning the battle. Yan Xiaoshu and the others were also online. They were hardcore CT fans after all. Moreover, these 5 players had a large fanbase. It was time to show the Immortal Barbarians the meaning of power. The battle went into full swing. There were around 2 million viewers watching from outside the Earth region. A few other major television channels in the Earth region had also purchased the broadcasting rights. Frankly speaking, this was the first time that the Earth region players had gotten a chance to play against the top players from outside the solar system. In the past CT competitions, the Earth region players had all returned disappointed. It was always the Moon region players that represented the solar system to fight. This was a precious opportunity to prove their worth and to display their capabilities. The members of the Skeleton Corps were shouting and cheering as well. At this point in time it did not matter which corps they belonged to. Everyone was supporting Bragging Simon's team in their bid to bring glory to the Earth region. Numerous net cafes had also seized the opportunity to cash in on this event. They had rolled out various kinds of promotions. The lobbies were fully packed with viewers that drank beer and ate fried chicken while waiting for the battle to start. The Immortal Barbarian star was not widely known amongst the people of Earth. Reason being that it was not as famous as the Northern Star. When speaking about the Immortal Barbarian star, people usually referred to it as the star situated near the Northern Star within Andromeda. The players, including Prince, were quite confident. Moreover, they had studied the battle records from the archives. The Immortal Barbarian players were highly accurate with their ranged attacks and they had good reactive abilities. But when it came to the melee combat, they were merely mediocre. The Immortal Barbarian players were different from those of the Northern Star. The Northern Star players were known for their basic skills due to their special geographical conditions and their genetic lineage. However, the Immortal Barbarian players were different. The density of that star was very low and the gravity was only about 0.6 times that of Earth. The Immortal Barbarian players had some similarity to those from the Moon, which meant that there was nothing to be afraid of. Prince and the others had worked out some tactics as well. For battles at this level, it was impossible to win the battle by using a wave of ranged attacks. According to the Immortal Barbarian team's weakness, they ought to adopt the tactic of approaching quickly and suppressing them. They would fight firmly and aggressively, and then destroy the Immortal Barbarian team with their solid skills in melee combat. But then again, if given a choice between the Immortal Barbarian players and those of the Northern Star, the Earth team preferred to fight against the former. Mid lane, Killing God. Bragging Simon also said some words of courage. He swore to teach the opponents a lesson. After the battle had officially started, the viewer count skyrocketed. Interest in this battle had soared to unprecedented heights. Everyone was eagerly anticipating the clash of the mecha. The staff members of CT were also full of confidence, but Solin's mind was far away. He was not even thinking about the number of viewers. No one knew it more clearly than Solin. The Earth region's standards did not see any fundamental improvements, at least not any major improvements. He had the rankings of each region in his hands. Though it might not be totally accurate, it had important value for reference. This was the internal data of CT, and as the CEO of the Solar System region, he had access to it. The Immortal Barbarian region was at least 100 ranks higher than the Earth region. Was this factor going to play a part in actual combat? The first 5 minutes of the game were spent probing the enemy team. Prince and Bragging Simon were very aggressive in scouting the opponent. After about 10 minutes, they achieved the goal that they had set before the battle. They had to make use of their advantages and work around their disadvantages. After all, both sides had their own unique points, so neither was capable of totally overwhelming the opponent easily. Because of this, there was a sense of anticipation. However, it was right then that the nightmare began. Everyone remembered a name. The #1 killer of mid lanes, Verbius. He was not particularly brilliant in the games before. He was seen as a proficient shooter, however, in this battle, he truly showed what it meant to pilot a mech. The mech he chose was a special variant that was unique to the immortal barbarian star, the jungle scamper type M. It was a mech that possessed the ability to transform. After humanity created the first mech, further development took the direction of creating an all-rounded mech, but their efforts were unsuccessful. Transformation consumed too much energy, which led such mecha to be considered aesthetic but impractical. The jungle scamper type M was commonly known as the orc. It was unable to stand up completely straight. It could only stand with its legs arched at an angle. When running, it ran on all fours like an animal, which was well suited to the immortal barbarian star's terrain. Though it was a non-mainstream model, this mech was flexible and well suited to the immortal barbarian team. The weapon on the mech was special too. In addition to the laser gun, it was equipped with a javelin barrel which could generate a lightning javelin once every 10 seconds. It only needed 2 shots to break the energy shield of any conventional mecha. Who would not find it impressive? Unfortunately, this barbaric and primitive weapon depended on the speed and instincts of the pilot. A normal person would not be able to hit anything with it. However, this was the beginning of the nightmare. In the streaming room, screams were followed by more screams. Another direct hit. FK. What is happening? Does his lightning javelin have an auto-lock feature? Why were we not able to avoid it? We are doomed, Prince, please be careful. Damn, he hit us again. Prince was shot twice and his energy shield had been shattered. He was immediately destroyed by the immortal barbarians. He is coming at us again. Hide, quickly, everyone hide. OWWWW. Hammer stepped up and took a shot for Bragging Simon, but he was destroyed in the process. Bragging Simon would risk his own life to destroy Verbius, but Verbius had already transformed into beast form and fled. Bragging Simon was almost in range to strike at his opponent, but then suddenly, Verbius turned around and transformed. The mech then proceeded to fire off another lightning javelin. Bragging Simon's mech staggered from the impact and was surrounded by the immortal barbarian team in an instant. There was a sudden flash before his eyes and then he exploded. Team destroyed. Earth's strongest team was destroyed even before they had a chance to damage the energy shield of their opponents. There were more than 8 million viewers online, and they had all witnessed this humiliating defeat. They all understood why the immortal barbarian team was considered a worthy opponent for the Northern Star team within Andromeda. The Northern Star team had steely determination, while the immortal barbarian team had beastly agility. The outcome of a battle between these two teams would be determined by who could suppress the opponent's playstyle as well as who could control the pace of the battle. In this regard, the Earth team lacked both. Verbius had destroyed 3 mecha by himself, and his teammates destroyed the remaining 2 mecha. However, those 2 mecha had also been shot by Verbius. The slow-motion replay started. Honestly, no one wanted to watch it. This was adding insult to injury, but they were not allowed to leave the game yet. What had happened? All of them had put in a lot of effort to control the mid lane. Everyone knew that their mid lane was the strongest. But why had they still missed their shots? After looking at the slow-motion replay, the viewers were in for another shock. They realized that the opponent's formation was unbeatable. In fact, they were trained to withstand the armored assault of the Northern Star team, so the Earth team's attack would be a piece of cake for them. Verbius had dashed forward in order to draw the attention of his opponents. This showed that he had absolute confidence in his piloting skills. His flexibility was incredible. Holy S*T. The mech had executed a strange torso twist in midair. What sort of flexibility was that? Of course, the flexibility of the mech was unlimited, but the human body's flexibility was limited. Was that guy even human? In the face of Bragging Simon's pursuit, Verbius even beckoned towards Bragging Simon while fleeing. What audacity! How arrogant! The MVP's play of the game replay was even more tormenting. 8 out of 10 attacks had hit the target. The opponents were all top players of Earth who, under normal circumstances, were capable of dodging these laser attacks. But why were they unable to dodge these slow lightning javelin shots? Prince and his teammates were baffled. They had tried the mech in a private battle before. This was a unique mech that no one would use in actual combat, because as long as your opponents were of a decent skill level, you would not be able to hit them. Once you missed, it was not easy to escape as the mech did not have sufficient suppression capabilities, and any retaliation from the opponents could potentially be fatal. The audience had to watch the 5 immortal barbarian players celebrate, and out of nowhere someone shouted, "Skeleton!" Inside the whole VIP streaming room, the shouting became louder and louder. Skeleton! 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 Skeleton was busy doing calculations at this time. Wang Jung had improved physically, but he felt that his brain was dull. When Old Merchant was here, they had discussed so much that all those formulas and laws were imprinted into his head. Now he had to conduct his own research for that. But Wang Jung actually really disliked those complicated formulas as they were too time-consuming. He was not that familiar with the Chekhov-Carlos number theory. It took at least half a day for Wang Jung to derive the whole thing, and he had no interest in it. Were it not for the Space Movement Project, he would not have been this patient. An idea suddenly popped into his head. He had the most gifted mathematician in the Milky Way Alliance on his side. It would be a terrible waste to not consult him. Wang Jung had a group chat set up on his Skylink. It was set up by Mu Fengchun. Wang Jung never spoke in the group chat after he joined, thus he also did not know if anyone else was online. Wang Jung typed in the group chat with two S following the Milky Way Alliance insignia. This was code signifying the highest confidential level on the Skylink. People with access to this confidential level could even brag about it. SS was a confidential level in the Milky Way Alliance. If someone wanted to read Wang Jung's Sky message, he would not be able to if he was only of the Earth clearance. If he possessed Solar System clearance, it was still too bad, he still would not be able to read it. That's right, this was the SS confidential level of the Milky Way Alliance. Only through the Milky Way Alliance's direct approval could a person read the message. It was this exclusive. This was understandable as the discussion among the top scientists, even the completely informal ones, involved top-notch technology in many different fields. Those in the group were already qualified as top scientists, except for Wang Jung. Wang sent the question into the group chat, with the idea of, just give it a try. The group chat was quiet for a long time. It seemed like he was hoping for too much. The idea of having to spend half a day on this gave Wang Jung a terrible headache. When Wang Jung was just about to exit the Skylink when a bunch of replies popped out on the screen. Who the heck is this? How did he get in? Boy, who let you in here?